What is up guys, it's Cal, and you might be watching this video thinking, wow, this hunter does a good amount of DPS. Well, no, that's probably not what you're thinking. You can obviously tell my UI has changed. It's set up like a PlayStation controller, to be exact, the DualShock 4 controller, because I decided to play WoW with a controller, just because. So I'm going to go through the controls here. Clicking down R3 is right click, clicking L3 is left click. As you can see, I just clicked on this NPC to go to my class hall, and it kind of brought up a new UI sort of thing, because an add-on I have called Console Port. That is one of the add-ons you need. You also need to download a separate file called WoW Mapper. I might make a separate video if anyone cares at all on how to do this exactly. I mean, I wouldn't exactly recommend it that well as far as, you know, doing good DPS and such, but it was kind of fun to mess around with. So I'm gonna go through my moves here. If you press, by the way, if you press attacking this target dummy now to kind of show you, and also towards the end you'll see me fight raid bosses, but as you can see, I'm trying to call my pet, kind of messes up here. But if you press L1 and L2, those aren't mapped to any specific abilities. You can pretty much like macro all of your abilities to buttons. L1 brings up like a new menu, L2 brings up a new menu, and if you press L1 and L2 at the same time, that also brings up a separate menu. So you essentially have 4 menus, including this main one that you see now. So looking at my moves here, my 2 main attacking abilities, Cobra Shot and Kill Command, because I'm a Beastmaster Hunter, those are mapped to R1 and R2, and then we have triangle is Dire Beast, square is multi-shot, circle is counter shot, X is jump, up on the D-pad it uses a macro that uses all of my cooldowns besides Titan's Thunder. My left analog, or my left D-pad, does Beast of Wrath, right D-pad does Murder Crows, and then down on the D-pad uses Titan's Thunder. So I mapped all of these buttons individually to these abilities. You can also see to the right of all of those my pet's UI. And just tagging this target dummy here, you'll see me press L1 at some point to bring up new buttons right here. Now this is me holding down L1, by the way. So up on the D-pad brings up me calling all of my pets, so I can call up a separate pet, but you do have to dismiss your pet before you call out a new one. So that's me pressing right on the D-pad while holding down L1. And then I'm just calling out a new pet. As I said before, pressing on the right analog stick is right click, pressing on the left analog stick is left click. So I'm like tab targeting through all of these targets right now. That's me pressing left on the D-pad while holding L1. So I mean, it's kind of gets a bit confusing. I mount it up, and then you just press down on the D-pad to dismount. Those are my abilities: Exhilarate, Counter, or Exhilarate, and Aspect of the Turtle. There's Disengage there. There's Feign Death. There's Shadow Melt. There's also Aspect of the Cheetah. So it can kind of get a bit confusing on what buttons do what, because you do map them yourself, but you kind of get used to it a bit. This is my L2 menu. As you see, I don't have all of them set up, but down on the D-pad opens up all of my bags, which got a bit confusing for me here, because it's kind of annoying to maneuver through your bags. I'm like messing around with the analog stick, but you have to actually press on the D-pad to go left and right, which you'll see me do in a second. And then triangle. Yeah, triangle uses health stones if I have any, and X uses my potions, which you'll see here in a minute. I accidentally use a potion, but that's not a huge deal. Now this is the raid group I'm part of. We're doing Chronamic Anomaly only on normal mode. It's easy for us, but you can see my SCADA and you'll be able to see the DPS. I don't know if you'll be able to see it that well. I need to kind of adjust my OBS settings a bit, but I'm usually actually at the top of the DPS charts, but I won't be for these next couple bosses that you're going to see, because I'm using the PS4 controller. So it is, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of fun to use the PS4 controller. As I just said, I don't really do that great of DPS as what I'm usually doing, but it's a nice change of pace, because a lot of times I do like to make it harder for myself. I like to challenge myself. So this is actually the first enemy that I'm fighting using the PS4 controller, and I will say my biggest problem was with my cooldowns, like my main DPS cooldowns. I did start off the fight using my Aspect of the Wild macro, which uses up all my cooldowns except that Titan's Thunder. I did forget to use Titan's Thunder until a bit later into the fight. Now, this is like one of the hardest things using the PS4 controller, is being able to see your cooldowns. And you might have been able to notice that your cooldown is shown by a ring around the ability, and then when that ring is up, you can use your ability again. But the ring is sometimes kind of hard to see, so I did find myself a lot of times not using Bestial Wrath when it was up. But periodically throughout the fight, I was just pressing up on the D-pad. Even though I wasn't sure if my Aspect of the Wild was off cooldown, I was still pressing it just in case. So it would also use Crows and Bestial Wrath if those were off cooldown. Now here I am fighting Trilliax. This is the part where I kind of got a bit more of a hang of it, but Trilliax decided to put all the mobility type stuff on me. Like for example, at one point in the fight I was paired with someone with arcing bonds. Another point in the fight I also got sterilized, which sterilized essentially means you have to stand by one of the scrubbers so it can scrub more purple crap off the ground. So that was, you know, also fun. So with that being said, I mean, there's not much more to say on it, so I'm gonna let some of this boss just play out in case anyone, you know, cares to watch the fight, and then we'll move on to the next boss. Now here I am on Spellblade Loriel, I think that's how you pronounce it. So this boss was probably a bit more difficult than the last two, because there's a lot more moving around in this boss with the frost marks. You know, if you get a frost mark, you have to converge on another player with a frost mark to reset the stacks, that sort of thing. If you've ever done the boss, then you probably understand what I'm saying. Now this is the first part where I actually get to use multi-shot, since this is an ad-heavy fight. At one point in the fight, I do actually end up dying, and that was kind of my own fault. We were all stacking on the boss to kind of ready up for Heroic, since there's a part where you have to stack up near the boss for Heroic, and I was in a bit of predicament, and I wasn't able to hit my Aspect of the Turtle fast enough, and I knew if I was using the mouse and keyboard, I would have been able to hit my Aspect of the Turtle, so I did end up dying. I was rezzed, but I'll just let the rest of this boss fight play out in case you care to watch. And that's really it, guys. You'll see me defeat Spellblade Loriel here in a second. Now, overall, as I've said multiple times, it was kind of fun, because after this boss I actually did end up switching back to the mouse and keyboard, because I liked being at the top of the DPS charts. But I know it's a bit, you know, sacrilegious to play a controller for a PC-oriented game, so don't hate me, but I just did it because I thought it was a fun idea. Probably never going to do it again, honestly. But that's the whole video, guys. If it was interesting at all to you, if you enjoyed watching, you can leave a like on this video. You can also sub to the channel. That is another option for you to do. If anyone cares to know, I might make up a video on how to do this. But that's it, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.